like that hope story we want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you a quick background is I've worked for 30 years as a speech and language pathologist. So I have a master's in communication sciences and disorders. And through that role, I found myself doing a lot of coaching and I was doing a lot of consulting. That's a big part of my role. I don't do a lot of direct intervention. I do more coaching, parenting coaching, educational coaching, and consulting. And then in 2003, I started realizing that there was something missing in my life. I was super happy in my career. I had a beautiful daughter. I had a fairly disconnected relationship at the time with her father. And I realized something was missing. So I started doing some seeking, some counseling, some energy work, some energy healing. And it eventually took me to yoga. And in 2004, I took my first yoga class and we did not have a good relationship, yoga and I originally, because I was very used to pushing for what I wanted in my life. And I didn't know how to soften and surrender. So yoga gave me some tools that were absolutely invaluable as I was going through a transition at that time in my life. And eventually I opened up 4 yoga studios and they thrived. They were other studios in the Greater Toronto area. I had the best teachers who were my friends, who were like spiritual leaders in our community. And there were some decisions that were made, some of them totally within my control. I take responsibility, so many of them out of my control, that led to the demise of the studios one at a time. And the studios, as they closed down slowly, and my personal life was attached to my professional life, I lost everything. And I didn't just lose my businesses. I lost my home. I lost my my investments. I lost my my friends, my friends who sat in judgment of me because I failed. And I really took on that belief of being a failure. I really allowed it to define me for that time, which took me into states of depression on and off. And what really got me through that time was my yoga belief. I had started and I still do run a teacher training academy for yoga, where I train people to be yoga instructors. It's a 200-hour program, and we do it online now, and it's wonderful. And it's one of my favorite things to do in the world. And it's, I truly call it, it's a personal development program disguised as yoga. So we do a lot of interpersonal development and self-awareness, community building, heart opening. And then we also do yoga, and they become amazing yoga instructors. But truly, it's the life changes that bring me so much joy to see that evolution. The teachings that I had at the time is what kept me going. And there were days that I had a hard time getting out of bed, and I didn't know what my life would look like. And I didn't know literally where my next shopping, grocery bill was going to, how it was going to get paid. And I had to make decisions with my daughter. Will I take my daughter to school, which was 20 minutes away, or will I go to work because I only had enough gas for one of those choices? So it was a really tough time. Yeah. And then these teachings they were seeds that were planted in me. And at the time that I was teaching them, I believed them. But when I was in my darkest place, it was hard to really pull them back in. But they were in me, and they kept like just little nuggets, just like giving me little reminders, like this is not forever. And this does not define you. And there's a term in yoga called spanda, which means that life moves in ebb and flows. And we see it in evidence of everything in the universe. We see it in the ocean tides. We see it in the sun and the moon. And I would remember when I could, when I was open to it, I would remember that this is a low that's going to be followed by something else, that this isn't going to be forever. So I'm super grateful that I had these teachings that I truly trusted and believed that allowed me to get up in the mornings. And I had, kids that I had to get up for. The universe is so friendly. And the universe, when I say the universe, it's the God of your understanding. It's so friendly. And I never lost that relationship of the friendliness with it, that I trusted that life was happening for me, not to me. So yes, I was depressed. Yes, I was scared. Yes, I didn't know how my life would turn out. And I always believed that life was happening for me, that there was something here that although I couldn't touch it right now, in the future, it would show itself to me. And it certainly has. I believe that today too, by the way. I believe that what we're going through now, as hard as it is with COVID, with elections in the States, with everything that's happening in the world, I believe that there's something greater making its way into our world. We just can't see it just yet. So eventually I got pulled back into my job as a speech language pathologist because I had left that career. You know, literally the doors just opened for me and I was able to seamlessly get back into it and start to just rebuild my financial status, like just get a little bit of money, be able to get gas in the car, be able to buy food for my kids, and find my footing again. And one of my teachers, Lisa Nichols, says, you know, we all fall down, but you get to decide if you want to take real estate there or not. And I chose not to take up real estate there. I knew that I was down, and every day I put my feet back on the ground and I stood back up. And at some point in the day, I would fall back down, and my falling down could have been my showing up at my office, closing the door and crying my eyes all day. And then I got back up, you know, dusted myself off, came home and took care of my kids. So that was my life for a couple of years. And I realized I continued to teach. And that was my blessing, is I continued to teach. And I do consider myself a spiritual teacher in my community. And I continued to teach. And I believe we always teach what we need to hear the most. And I taught what I needed to hear the most. And my teachings are a blend of spiritual teachings, Eastern philosophy, life coaching, mindset coaching. And I package it all together in the way that offers up to my clients what they need to hear the most. And I realized I was coaching then. I had been coaching since 2010. And I took the coaching from the yoga mat to my one-on-one clients, my business clients. The coaching doesn't change. It's just the audience that's changed. So I don't include the physical practice of yoga, but the coaching about how do we show up when times are tough? How do we find our feet and take a big exhale when we don't know what's going to happen today with the elections south of the border? How do we take responsibility, personal responsibility, radical responsibility for who we are and how we show up in the world? And then be able to say sorry when we don't show up at our best, right? How do we keep our hearts open when there's no guarantees, when we're met with closure or resistance? And how do we show up as leaders? Because I really believe we're all leaders. And one of my taglines is, we're all leaders, but are you a leader who gives a shit? Are you a leader who's willing to show up every day when there's no guarantees, to roll up your sleeves and do the work that needs to get done, whether it's get the kids to school, or whether you're a CEO of a large corporation and you need to go in that warehouse and help out, because that's what's needed, because your employees, your staff, your team, your family needs to see you engaged, ready, authentic, and collaborative. And so I bring all of that into my coaching world, and I'm super grateful and blessed that I get to help people every day remember that they are significant, that they are not defined by their circumstances in their life. I have a quote in one of the books that I've published that says, your experiences do not define you. Your experiences refine you and have the potential to catapult you to your deepest and highest purpose. And I live that belief every day. And my life still does this. You know, that's just life. And I always come with the remembrance that, first of all, I'm a friggin' miracle just like you. Because there's a 1 in 400 billion chances that any one of us would be here. Essentially, it's a zero. Like if we really look at it, it is a zero chance that you or I would be here. But we're here. So that makes us a miracle.